Okay, let's do this. Welcome back to the Forensic Detailing channel. Do not forget to subscribe. In this video, you're going to learn a lot of information. In fact, you may argue you're going to become an expert on paste waxes as we attempt, let's get the light right, as we attempt to review this Pinnacle Sourveran wax, the wax for perfectionist. Brilliant on red, awesome on black. That's a load of nonsense. Rich three-dimensional shine. Okay, that's less nonsense. Pinnacle natural brilliance. Okay, fair enough. We've got anything else on this box? No. Okay, so this review was requested by one of my patrons, Jamie, who has a passion for waxes. There are a lot of guys out there into detailing that still have a passion for paste waxes, and I'm one of them, okay? When I started my channel 9 or 10 years ago, roughly, waxes were still a big thing, and there was a much more vibrant scene around waxes and much more interest in them. And I'd say over the last 10 years, interest in waxes has diminished, and people prefer more modern, rapid, water-based spray type product. I think, and there's a lot more, you know, we talked about it, ceramic shampoo, spray and rinse, you know, durable ceramic detail sprays and all that sort of stuff. It has gone that way a little bit, and ceramic coatings as well, obviously, and polishes and waxes and polishes and sealants in one, and of course traditional sealants, all these other modern forms of products that you know about. But wax has a certain allure to it, and it will always be in my heart. Sounded really cheesy. Okay, so car waxes have been around for at least 100 years, believe it or not, I think. And they probably started with the old, you know, the very first forms of cars that had like thick, hard enamel paint on them to protect the, you know, materials, the bodywork, the carriage work. And that paint would fade and oxidize, and even, you know, so you could probably, someone discovered you could take probably like a furniture wax, you know, like a beeswax or something, or whatever, a carnauba wax, and rub it into that enamel paint and bring up the shine. And you go around and start, the buff was invented, you know. And then, of course, detailing companies or automotive cleaning companies going back to that age started offering car waxes, dedicated car waxes, and you're going back to your turtle waxes, your Simonize, your auto glims, and stuff, going all the way back to the origins. I don't know who the company was to do the first paste wax. Don't know. It'd be an interesting thing. Put that in the comment. So there's the history of the car wax. Then, of course, automotive finishes went away from enamel paints to other single stage gloss paints, you know, solvent-based paints, cellulose paints, I can't remember. Different to enamel, but still subject to fading. And car waxes were brilliant because they would, you know, they would protect from fading, and then they would fill a lot of these kind of paint systems with oils and waxes and bring back the shine and stuff like that. Very effective car waxes on single stage paint, and really, really beneficial. And suddenly, about 30 years ago or 40 years ago, we started getting clear coat, which is put on to sit on top of paint systems to provide gloss and protection to the paint underneath. Then, of course, waxes slightly changed because the paintwork was already glossy, and we started discovering car polishes and that you could refine the finish of the clear coat and the whole art of detailing and all that sort of stuff. Waxes have started evolving then and started getting synthetic materials blended into them rather than just being organic waxes and oils. Okay. And so the slight aim of waxes was changed then to being something that could enhance the finish to something that was less about enhancing the finish, although they still shone up your paint a little bit if they were poor, you know, poor paint finish, to more a layer of wax would protect your car, okay? And it became about protection from contamination and the clear coat drying out and getting all rough with contamination. So more protection than gloss, okay? So we're going through all the history here. Now I want to move into what is in car waxes. Well, traditionally products like Pinnacle Sourveran are what I refer to as organic waxes. And that means they contain organic forms of waxes, typically like a carnauba wax. In fact, that's the wax of choice due to its hardness. But they typically contain a blend of carnauba wax, Montan wax, which is another crystalline wax, which is very glossy, not so hydrophobic and slightly brittle. Paraffin wax, small amounts of paraffin wax, because it adds hydrophobicity. Paraffin wax is a bit more like your crayons. Very water repellent paraffin, very cheap wax, microcrystalline wax. And you can only use tiny amounts of it as an overall percentage. If you start going above 2% paraffin wax, 2 to 5%, your wax can become really, have like a ghosty like film in it, and you can start getting buffery, hologrammy type wax smears and stuff. So you should always keep that paraffin low. Anyway, then you moved on to getting more synthetic materials being added, and wax blends changing to eliminate the use of carrier oils, which are there to soften the hard waxes down and make them spread easily on the panel, but make the overall formulation soft and semi-dissolved, if you like. Okay, so those oils were eliminated. Stronger solvent systems were used so that you'd have a wax that could dry cure fully and give you like a proper cure, a hazed cure that you'd buff off the panel. Now, traditionally, waxes like Pinnacle Sovereran, because they're quite oil rich, organic oil rich, they never fully cure. So they're kind of referred to now as show waxes. Now, this Pinnacle Sovereran wax, let's have a look at the price. It's £63.50 in the UK, and I bought this from Motor Geek. I think they're the only place that sell it. I don't know. You can shop around if you like, but I don't think you'll get it any cheaper unless you get it second hand. So the price of this wax at £63.50, that's for 236 mil. So your price per 100 gram of this wax is £26.90 per 100 gram. That's actually not that expensive. You'd think it would be really expensive when you say 63 quid, but you're getting quite a lot. To give you a comparison, this Shoal Concepts wax here, premium vintage wax, this costs £194 for 200 mil, which means this costs £97 for 100 mil. So the comparative prices of that, £97 versus £26.90. That's a very high-end premium wax, this is. It was the winner, I think, of our wax test, mega test that we did many years ago, which is probably the best wax test ever done, because it was done really well, really carefully with a big range of waxes, and it was done properly. I read other, like reviews of paste waxes in magazines and stuff, and like this, I don't think any testing's been done really, or just they pull it on and give you an opinion on how it applies, and it's based on that. Whereas we actually, used gloss meters, test panels, did all sorts of clever testing, came to the conclusion this was one of the shiniest ones. I'm not sure if it was the overall winner, but really good wax that is, but very expensive. You do not have to spend loads of money on waxes, by the way. So to give you another comparison, but we'll just do one more comparison. This Auto Glim Ultra High Definition wax, this costs, where's my price? £68.95 for 120 grams. Something's gone wrong with my calculation there. Why has that gone wrong? I've written my price down wrong. So it's £68.95 for 120 grams. So 100 grams would be like, what? I don't know, less than 68 quid. I've put 82, but that can't be right. So I've done my pricing wrong. So 100 grams of this would be, let's just say about 50 quid or whatever, roughly. You can get it cheaper than 68 quid, but that's the RRP, I think, from the Auto Glim site. You have a look on Halfords. So it gives you an idea that Pinnacle Sovereign's actually cheaper, considerably cheaper than both of these waxes here. And Auto Glim are a sort of big brand, Neither of these brands are the sort of the pinnacle of what's considered an expensive wax. I think you'd give that to Swiss Wax or Zymol, and their equivalent waxes like Zymol Concurs is £83.60 per 100 gram. Swiss Wax Best of Show is £102.50 for 100 grams. So the Pinnacle isn't priced up there with our top European brands. It's not even priced up there with our top, that's German, isn't it? And on our top UK brand, if you like. Now, here's some interesting facts. Built Hamber double speed wax costs £16.95 for 250 grams, which is £6.80 per 100 grams. So it's a fraction of the price, nearly a tenth of the price of this. It'll outperform any of these waxes. So that's the thing to understand with wax performance. You're not, when you pay lots of money, paying for performance and durability. You're not, or even hydrophobicity. You're almost paying for reputation and name. Okay, I'm expecting the Pinnacle Soveran to have relatively low durability. We'll see on that because it's oil-based, and when it's backboned with carnauba and oil only, detergents break down and emulsify oils, and they wear away quicker because of it. Modern waxes, perhaps more like the Auto Glim high definition wax, they try and avoid using organic oils and use a higher blend of solvents. They do it different ways, and I don't know how they do it as well. I never quite fully got to the bottom of that because I stopped using organic oil with my waxes. Anyway, you don't care about my waxes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Stop rushing and just bring people in on what you've done. So if we go up here, I sold all my wax making equipment. There it is. This is I think this might be the only one I got. Forensics FF303. It's my 303rd wax blend. PR bead. Don't know what that means. I've got the formula kicking around for this somewhere. Don't ask me what the formula is. Look at that. It's not bad wax, that. A little bit of graininess to it. It's been in there for years, but it's still all nice and fresh and oily. You can use that, and that will cure, but it won't. It's not all completely volatile. There's stuff in there that keeps it soft, so it doesn't ever quite get that full dry cure. Oh, geez. Right, get that lid back on there, John. Seal that up. It's very hydrophobic, that wax. Now, I sold all my wax making gear. I probably shouldn't have done. But that's the kind of guy I was. Really loved waxes, really passionate about it, and I really spent a lot of time trying to learn how to make them, because that's how you unlock, like playing a computer game and completing it. If you're interested in something, you really get into it. You want to learn the nuts and bolts. You start making it yourself, and that's how detailing companies are started, by having that passion. Half the problem with today is no one has that passion to actually go and experiment with like materials and make products in your garage, and make mixed detergents, blend detergents, try and do stuff. If you do that, you've got a chance of coming up with some interesting stuff. No one seems to have that passion. They just want to get out there and make the money. Anyway, let's go on to this wax now. Let's go on to this wax. So let's move that over there. We'll be doing some more on waxes. I want to go and buy some of those other high-end ones and talk about them, because it's a passion. I think if you follow your passions, you're good. Now I'm going to give you all my raw thoughts. This box looks a little bit battered. A bit disappointed in the box. It probably is 20 years old. This is an old school product. This box looks like it's been sitting on the shelf for 20 years. It's all like the print. It's faded as you go through a winter and you get moisture in the warehouse. It's sat in. You just get that deterioration in the surface. It's not all sharp and new. So it looks a bit battered. Never mind. You open it up and you get some bits and pieces with it, which is nice. But let's have a look at the bits and pieces, because this is supposed to be this is the pinnacle of natural brilliance. Okay, you get an applicator with it. That applicator is cheap Chinese. You know what? Because with C. You know what? That's the cheapest applicator you could ever buy. So you're just getting my raw thoughts. If you're the pinnacle of quality, can you not give me a better applicator than that? Can you not do it? I've got a drawer full of applicators here. These are the ones I keep. You get this applicator. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. It's going to... This applicator comes free with the built amber wax, which costs £16. It's like £6. You know, it's a fraction of the cost of this, and you get half decent, dense applicator with it. So, you know, there's no excuse for giving away stuff like that. You could get away with that 20 years ago, but you can't now. Like, you know, you're gonna be premium. You get a microfiber towel with it, which is, okay, it's not the worst microfiber towel I've ever seen, but look at the quality of the nap. It's not even, it's all got little tuft bits. You know, it's not a quality microfiber towel, it's just a bulk standard Chinese microfiber towel with a, what's that? It's stuck. What's this? Palm Gold Plush Junior microfiber towel, Palm Beach Motoring, made in China. There we go. 75.25. Good. Do not iron. No. Okay. Who cares? It's an average kind of cloth. It's not a premium cloth. If you think it is, you're welcome to say that. But trust me, again, I could write a dissertation on microfiber. It's one of my wax I'm good at. I know about waxes. I'm pretty good on microfiber as well. That's average microfiber at best. It comes in a shiny bag, like the old boxers wear those little hoodies, you know, when they come out to the boxing ring. It's got that look to it. Let's just have a look at that. That's a nice touch. It's better than just opening it up and getting the wax. But, yeah, it's not the highest quality piece of, you know, it's not the most attention to that bag making. It's just a cheap thing, you know, whatever that is. Anyway, it does add a little bit, opening up a box and having it in there. But like I say, cheap microfiber, cheap applicator, cheap bag. Pot, it's just a plastic pot. It's not a particularly high-end pot. Some wax makers use really nice glass jars. You know, if you're boutique wax making, you're making hand-poured smaller things, then why don't you put it in a jar rather than this, which has a more mass-produced feel to it, in my opinion. They're not the only ones, though. To be fair, they're not the only ones. Most American brands will use a tin or a plastic one. So a few of the more smaller European or UK brands might use really good vessels. Let's read what it says. Pure Brazilian Ivory Carnauba. Okay, there's your first bit of marketing. So there's no such thing as ivory carnauba, and most of the commercial carnauba that you buy comes from Brazil. They just happen to farm it more over there. Brazil are the carnauba guys, but that doesn't matter. You know, it's not a case of, oh, it's Brazilian carnauba, not Chinese carnauba. No, it all comes from Brazil, really. When it's ivory carnauba, or what they call ivory, there's really two main grades that you could use. You could use T1, the top quality grade carnauba, or you could use cheaper grade T2, I think it is. Just use the top grade. It comes from the right part of the plant. The rest of it, the lower grade stuff, is not as pure, and it comes from a different part of the plant. Bert was telling me about that. When it's called ivory carnauba or white carnauba, they just take the T1 carnauba and they bleach it and refine it a little bit more, which is desirable, but it's not some rare form of like carnauba that you need to be too worried about. But it's nice because it looks good. Clear coat safe. Well, yeah, cool. It needs to be, doesn't it? Jesus. What wax wouldn't be? Easy to apply, no powder residue. That is important. That's good information. Let's have a look at these directions. Wash car first. Work in shaded area. Cars with dull paint should be polished with Pinnacle Paintwork Cleanser Lotion before waxing. Yeah, great. Apply a thin coat of wax to one section at a time. It is not necessary to wait for the wax to fully haze over. Buff it to a high gloss with a microfiber cloth. Turn cloth often. Contains at least 25 applications. Good. Contains refined mineral spirits, harmful if swallowed. Yeah. Here's another thing. You also get this whole applying wax by hand nonsense. And that was back in the day of this stuff. Do not apply wax by hand. It's hydrocarbon based. So it's sitting there on your hands like kind of grease. And it will just soak in. You keep mineral spirits off your hands really. If you clean off paint with mineral spirits, you then wash it off. you know, get it off your hands quickly. If you're handling this for hours applying car wax, your skin's going to crack and be itchy and red and horrible. Also, if you're trying to apply wax by hand, any dirt in your hands or any grit or any roughness in your skin, or you encounter any dirt on the panel and you're rubbing over it with your hands, you're just going to scratch the paint more. If you're using a little soft foam applicator, it's ideal, it's soft, it's good. There's a reason they give you an applicator. The whole waxing by hand thing was just another way of adding to the drama. That's all it is. You don't have to agree, but that's the truth. Manufacturers know, we're not worried about that, right? Good. Okay, let's open her up. So you're getting, was I pointing that the wrong way then? You're getting everything you need to know about waxes here. Just one other thing. Some wax makers back in the day made a big thing about carnauba content. So if this is 200 grams roughly, about half of that's going to be the solvent, about 50% roughly, okay? About 20% of it's going to be carrier oil, roughly, organic oil, you know, could be, you know, anything, olive oil, it won't be that. There'd be an organic oil. Now, and then the rest of it, say 30%, will be wax, okay? So that would give you around about 30 mil of wax in that jar, wouldn't it? No, 60 mil roughly of wax, or 60 grams of carnauba wax. 60 grams of top grade T1 refined carnauba wax costs the grand total of F all. Okay, it's less than £1 even in today's market. So say we've got 30% wax in there by overall volume of the product. They would actually say that 30% would be 60% because they would argue that the solvent isn't an active ingredient. So they'll tell you by what's left on the panel, basically. So you could say, for example, in this product, if we had 30 grams of wax per 100, we'd actually have around 60% wax by volume, okay? That makes it sound better. Okay, now here's the thing. One trick that was used was to say that the amount of wax in it was a measure of quality. Can be to a certain extent, but the difference in price is so minimal, it doesn't make any difference. So if we went up to 70% wax, there'd be like a couple more pennies on the cost of the wax, which is negligible anyway. The only people that care about the cost of wax are the companies that are making things in large scale. And that's why perhaps you might want to avoid synthetic carnauba waxes that look yellow. You know, they've put in a synthetic wax instead of using carnauba. And when I asked years ago why, you know, one of the suppliers, why would you put in synthetic wax instead of carnauba? And he just sort of paused as if I was stupid, and then just said, because it's a hell of a lot cheaper. So some big companies do care about, you know, we'll use synthetic wax instead of carnauba because it's cheaper. But for me, with the price they're charging, it's just a tiny little negligible thing. That's the key thing to understand. An organic paste wax, overall in this jar, there is probably less than £1 to £2 worth of material. That's the cost to make all of that. Okay, so it sounds expensive. There is some big profit margins, but hardly any wax now is being sold. So long gone are the days where this was majorly profitable. Right, the other thing you need to know about paste waxes is, if you're interested, then again, this is all content for people that are actually interested in detailing. That's what I want this channel to be. You know, we give you information you are not going to get anywhere else, because no other person is stupid enough to want to go and make all these waxes and devote themselves to the subject matter. You know, why bother? You only do that if you're really obsessed with detailing. That's my greatest asset, is I'm an idiot. Okay, let's open this up. The other drama is oils. So, of course, you can use the waxes to create a marketing angle. Brazilian ivory carnauba, you know, 200% wax by volume, all that stuff. The other angle is the choice of oils you use to make the wax more oily and softer to spread. They would also use that as an opportunity to market, so you get exotic oils. We use only the finest oil, you know, extracted from the Jarrah Jarrah bird found in the native islands of Papua. You know, you squeeze the bird. Essentially, it doesn't really matter what oils you use, even though wax makers will be like cursing my name for saying that. It's a lot of the organic oils which you use are very impure. So if you are going to use an organic oil, I'd want to use something that was highly refined and a bit purer. So I found something like Montan oil was really, really good if you can get hold of it. But using like, you know, oils from food, you know, like from, what was the things like nut oils and, you know, seed oils and stuff like that. You know, they look a bit dirty and they're not pure and they're not good. There was also other waxes that wax makers like to use, like beeswax. Again, very impure wax, highly impure. Even if you get the refined versions that are white, beeswax always made wax sticky for me. I just think it was put in there as a bit of a gimmick, personally. Candilia wax, again, very impure, no real benefit. You could add PE wax, like plasticky kind of wax that you could melt. Silicone waxes as well. We had a few of those you can put in there. They can reinforce it. They can be quite useful, actually. You've got to be very careful with those. So yeah. There, now you should know most of the stuff you need to know about waxes. When you lay a wax down on the surface of a panel, the solvent part of it disappears, and that makes this wax turn harder and form a hard layer on the surface. Okay, so that's essentially how they work. There's no clever like technology with a paste wax. So some sealants will contain amino functional components which are drawn to the clear coat, drawn to the surface of the car, and they'll bond mechanically, or what's the word? They'll form a proper bond to the surface, like a scientific bond, James Bond. These won't. It's just a hard resin that will, you know, dry on the surface. It doesn't actually mechanically bond to the surface. Let's have a sniff of this wax. So, in terms of solvents, they are using low aromatic solvents because I'm not getting a solvent honk. In fact, I can smell the carnauba. It's got like a cheesy parmesan smell, the carnauba. A slight richness to it. It's a lovely smell, carnauba. Really nice. It's a bit like, not like leather, but leather's got that unique kind of scent. Carnauba's got this real funky, unique scent. A bit like parmesan cheese. But with a sweetness to it. I don't know if this has got some scent in there as well. Might have, but I can't smell any solvent at all. They're using a low aromatic solvent, okay? Low aromatic hydrocarbon solvent. Typically, that is odorless kerosene. That's widely used. Okay, I just want to have a look at something. The wax is pretty well poured. Yeah, it's really well poured. You've got some froth around the outside. Sometimes they can put, wax makers can put tiny amounts of limonene in the wax, which can, you know, doesn't always mix in, a bit like if you added water. So you can get those sort of bubbles rising to the surface, or it can just be a little bit of froth for whatever reason. But in an ideal world, if you're going for perfection, some wax makers don't like that. They want a pure ice rink. You're also getting some cracking in the middle of this wax. And sometimes that cracking, those crack lines through it, the more Montan wax you have in there, the more chance you have of getting those crack lines. This wax, considering it's probably made, is that 2014, do you reckon? Don't know. That's probably a batch number, who knows. Whenever this wax was made, still in really good shape. That's not the best. Shouldn't really slide out your jar like that, but once we use it a little bit and it softens a bit, it will get better. Let's just have a look at that. Really interesting. Let's just take that all the way out. Feels like a candle. So it looks like they probably did one pour and then did a top pour to get so it didn't all collapse in the middle. Yeah, you can get some little. You don't usually get to see a wax like that. That is also bordering on a hard wax. It's lovely and oily though. It's beautiful, that is. The carnauba content isn't as high as other waxes. How do you know? Because it goes all grainy when it's really carnauba enriched, like really when it's a really high percentage. This is a hard wax, trust me on that, but it's really well oiled. It's a really oily wax. That's got me a little bit excited actually. Let me just show you an example of a high carnauba wax and the difference. The claim to fame with this Shell Premium Vintage Wax, got it, is the carnauba content. You will not get a higher carnauba content, in my opinion, than this wax. It's got that grainy, you can almost feel it, really grainy wax, almost crystalline in certain parts. It's different to the Pinnacle product. It's much more porridgey. It's softer. If you put your finger in, I can go through this. And this smells of carnauba and cocoa, because that's the oil that they're using with it. This is a lovely wax, by the way. I love it. Proper old surfboardy type. Proper old school, that is. Yeah, I like a high carnauba wax. If I'm going organic wax, give me a high carnauba, because I know it's relative. Even though the price doesn't matter, these companies can be a bit tight. I know with this, you know, it's loaded. With this, I don't know it's loaded, but it's got a lovely oiliness to it considering how hard it is. Right, let's go and put some of this wax on our test panel. This test panel has been cut back with a blue Rupes wool pad, okay, and it's been used a heavy cut compound, H8, on the that polisher there, which gives me a terrible finish, which is important if you're comparing waxes. This is other information that you won't get. See that finish? Look at it, it's terrible. It's like, oh, it's really soft surface this, and I've just smashed it with the wool. So I've got all that machine marring that needs to be taken out. But I'm leaving that in there, okay? Because the worse the surface, the more I can measure the improvement from the wax. Here's something you didn't know. If you polish a surface and you get that physical gloss in that panel really perfected, really high, these products are not going to be able to increase gloss. Shock horror. And some people won't. But actually that was less of a drama nowadays. But when I used to say that years ago, people would just get angry. Not that angry, but... Right. So this is a very oily wax, really oily. That's like a puck almost. That's right on the edge of what you could consider acceptable. But the thing that's saving it is, even though it's rock hard, I need two hands, hold on a second. Even though it's rock hard, it's coming up into the applicator, which is nice, but yeah, interesting. It's not the best pickup on a wax, and this applicator doesn't help. You know, Autoglim were really like anal when they developed this wax. They gave you an applicator, I still got it, and they developed the applicator. I should have kept that. I think I got it dirty, so I threw it away. It was a really good applicator actually, I should have kept that. And it was developed to go exactly into the pot, so that when you push it in there, you know, you get your thing, you don't get it all, you're not trying to get it into the edge and all that. You know, there's things like that. You talk about all this Pinnacle, you know, like of this and the finest ingredients, then why are you giving me a rubbish applicator? You know, it's just rubbish that doesn't even fit in your pot, because anyone could sort that out. Anyway, stop moaning, let's get on with it. So let's put this down. Yeah, that's lovely. It's lovely. It's no stickiness at all to this. So some waxes, like I said, if they're loaded with the old beeswax, especially with a cheap applicator, they'll go crunch on the panel and they'll really stick, and it feels horrible buffing it. It feels really slimy and waxy and over-waxed. That just feels like butter. So that's a lovely wax to apply, that is. I'm really happy with that. But I've got a feeling there's a downside to this. Now, what you can't see, unfortunately, let's just get our torch. That feels really oily to me. So like normally you then leave this stuff to haze out and then you buff it, but they don't want you to do that. This is a wax on, wax off. So you put it on and you buff it, which is your typical show wax. So let's go ahead and do that. Follow the instructions. So just bear with me while I fold this. I like to have my cloths folded. There we go. Let's just give this a lovely instant buff. That just buffs beautifully. Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nice. But there could be a flip side to this ease. When something's usually really easy to apply like that, if a wax cures, it goes hard. And then when you're trying to buff that hard wax, it's going to be harder and you're going to leave little bits of wax on the panel potentially. That's a curing or a dry curing wax. The benefit of that though is that with that dry cure, you leave a proper layer of cured wax on that panel, and it tends to be a good sign. So with that durability comes the less difficult buff. A more difficult buff, typically. That wax is undoubtedly, let's just see if I got it all off. Yeah, it's had a good improvement on the panel as well, isn't it? It's not quite as, I've still got that machine marring there, but if I go over here, it's worse. It's a bit improved over here with the wax filling it all in. So we'll take some gloss meter readings as well. It's interesting. I'm sure we're seeing a good improvement on that panel. So what I'm going to do now, that is lovely to use. Lovely, but it's a very oily wax. The carnauba content isn't that high. So I'm thinking, it could be like half carnauba against other waxes, I don't know. But normally to get that balm-like kind of wax rather than that grainy wax, when it's balm-like, usually if you took all your waxes that you've used, the carnauba would probably be less than half, compared to the other waxes, and that tends to give you that balm. But also that balm comes from the oils that you're using. A very common thing would be to put coconut oil on it. Because coconut, if you ever get that refined coconut oil, it's like a wax already. It's like a wax. You put that in and that can really soften well. So that can get used a lot as well. In fact, you can normally smell it when they use that. Can't smell. My nose is gone. So I don't know if that's being used in there, but that often, actually it might be. Just give me another smell. Oh, come on, Jono, you can do it. How long's this video? Where are we at? Nearly 40 minutes. Maybe. Okay. This is the really interesting stuff. Now, let's open up this Auto Glim product. Hold on, about the dodgy camera work. Let's open this up. This was one of the nicest poured waxes I've ever seen. See what I was talking about, those bubbles? I've used this a few times. So it's had a bit of use, but not that much. But there was no bubbles in here. It's all white. There's a bit of graininess to this wax. This Auto Glim has that classic polished smell. So they don't use a low aromatic. They use a more aromatic solvent that you will, if you smell super resin polish or extra gloss protection, you can recognize the classic Auto Glim hydrocarbon solvent smell. It gets up my nose actually. It's a classic. It's got that musky solvent smell to it. It's obviously a blender solvents as well. Now, Autoglym, this wax here, let's use a fresh applicator. It's a bit of a shame I don't have their one. Right, oh God. Right, hold on. Yeah, so the pickup on this wax is much better than this one, which is all oil, whereas this is all wax. You're picking up wax rather than just oil. So it feels more waxy than oily. All right, I'm going to put this Autoglym one. You can dampen this Autoglym applicator, which can help. You don't need to though. Yeah, so this doesn't spread as well as the Pinnacle Soveran. It's more waxy, it's thicker, it's less oily, and that is literally how it feels. You get a little squeakiness from it. So it's more solvent and wax and less oil for sure. But it's still pretty nice. You wouldn't have any problem with that. Trust me. It's nice, but it's not oily and buttery like the Pinnacle. So the Pinnacle is a nicer product to apply. Let's just put the lid on that one. The Autoglym product needs curage, so that will haze up and go white. I don't know how long it takes. No smoking. Let's have instructions. No instructions on here. No instructions on here. Come on, Autoglym. I know you gave with the box that you sold, there is instructions because I remember following them. And I know you've got a website, but you should always have instructions on the label, unless I'm missing. It's got one of those trick labels. No, but okay, I'm going to leave this like 5 to 10 minutes for it to haze up. Yeah, no instructions. Interesting. I'm going to sneeze. Okay. Come on. Okay. It's all these solvents. Is it? The Shell Concepts. I don't think it has instructions as well. There was another tin that came with it. It came in a glass jar with a tin. Interesting, wasn't it? Because this is, I think, a glass jar. I think. No, it's not. It's plastic, isn't it? Well, it might be glass and then plastic on the inside. I don't know. A bit more premium. It's probably the most premium jar out of all of them, but some of you won't care about that. Can we use this side? Yeah, we're just going to use this side of the applicator for this. Let's put this down over here. Okay. Oh, it's dry. Look how cakey and dry that is. It's dry. It's so dry. Even compared to the Autoglym, this Shell wax is really dry. But how does it go on? I bet it's going to be okay. Yeah, it's a bit more smeary. So it's just going to need to be worked to get it going. Yeah, so the Shell product is perhaps, of the three, the one that's just, it's so dry and waxy. It's very interesting actually. So what's happening is it's sticking to the applicator. I'm having trouble getting it on the panel. It's really interesting actually. I mean, it is a little bit older, but it should still be good. Let's just get the light on that to see if I've got a wax layer. Oh yeah, it's fine, okay, it's fine. So it is putting a wax layer over there, but out of the three, that wax layer is drier. It's still got a greasiness to it, but a lot drier than that. So very simply, in order of application, I would say that's by far the nicest to work with. Then the Autoglym, then the Shell. They're all lovely waxes though. I'm just splitting the atom. It does give me a good view on it actually using these. That is a very hard oily wax, as I've already said. Now what I'll do is I'll come back in a few minutes when both these waxes here have cured. You can leave the Shell on the panel for a little bit. You could buff it straight away. It won't make too much difference with these waxes, to be honest, but we'll just give those other two a moment. I'll be back. Okay guys, we're back. I've waited 10 minutes and I've buffed the Autoglym, I've buffed the Shell, and I've just written up there the names of the products so we know what's what. In terms of buffing Pinnacle was the best, followed by the Auto Glim, which is just a slightly bit thicker, followed by the Shoal, which buffed great, but just required a bit more buffing to get that smooth finish. Now I want to show you something, surface appearance. See that Auto Glim there? Right. I think that has done the best job. Not perfect, you can still see swirls and all that sort of stuff. But if you look over here, the amount of swirls in this panel, you know, are a lot higher. That's the Pinnacle. And this, it's really filled the swirls a lot better, the Auto Glim. And then the Shoal is somewhere in between. You can still see quite a lot of swirls, but it's better than the Pinnacle. So it's almost like the thicker the wax, the more it fills. But the Auto Glim, the appearance of that wax in terms of filling is superior, which is interesting. What about, so filling is one thing, John. What about gloss? So I've just calibrated that. Save calibration, yes. Now we want to delete all batches. Yes, and come back out. Let's just take 3 gloss readings from this panel. Let's do it from the middle here. Okay, let's go. So we're interested in 20-degree gloss. So we're looking at how shiny this is now. And let's make sure we don't get any erroneous readings. 85.1. So of course we can go a lot higher if we refine this panel, but it's not the wax doing it, that would be the polish. So it's a bad glossed panel. So 85.1, we want consistency across these 3 readings. Good, 85.5. If they jump around massively, then it's usually something on the panel that's causing it rather than, you know, good reading. 87.1, so it's a little bit of jump, but not enough. So we'll say that that's a good set of readings. So let's have a look at the stat. We want mean, 85.9. Come on, we'll write that down. 85.9, mean average gloss. And we'll go on to here, we'll clear all that lot off. And we'll go on to here. And, you know, for those watching, we've talked about gloss testing a lot. If you want really accurate gloss testing, you would take hundreds of readings, pre and post. Wow, big difference. Look at that, 90.9. Let's see if that's consistent. This is really interesting, isn't it? You have to take hundreds, but this can give you an idea. So let's take another reading. We want that N to be equal 3. We want this to be consistent. Yeah, that's still consistently higher. That's all consistently higher. So there's really good information, that is, that this panel is, this product, if we go to stat, 90.4 average gloss. So that's really impressive. Actually, that's a big difference, 90.4. That's a big difference, that is. So that oily thing is really giving a good shine. You'd notice that. Your eyes can see 5 units of gloss. Delete all batches. Boom. This is interesting. I'm expecting this Shoal to be high, but I don't know. I've got a feeling actually it might be low. Let's have a look. For my eyes, I don't think it's not as good as the Pinnacle. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's somewhere in between. That'd be interesting. No, it's virtually, it's not hitting, it's not going above 90, but it's higher than the Auto Glim. Yeah, so our average there is 88.4. So, 88.4. So in terms of gloss, Pinnacle wins, clearly. Shoal second, Auto Glim third. Interesting, that. But then in terms of swirl reduction, the Auto Glim is clearly the best. So maybe it's a slightly, I don't know, just guessing all this gloss stuff. We're taking some data though, but definitely the Auto Glim feels the best. Feels, F-I-L-L-S, not feels, F-E-E-L-S. That's lager, L-A-R-G-E-R. So, yes, but we'll go with gloss. We'll go with filling and gloss as two separate categories. So what we're going to do now is we'll do hydrophobics, okay? I'm probably going to leave the panel for another hour. But the thing with the Pinnacle is there's a lot of oil on that panel. So really, sometimes when I'm testing ceramics and whatever, you have to wait a week, or a sealant, you give it 24 hours. I think I'm just going to wait an hour with these. Just going to wait an hour, come back and do hydrophobic and then chemical testing. Okay, let's move out Marines. We're all set up. Let's do some hydrophobicity testing. Yeah, that'll do. So give me some. There we go. Right, let's have a look at this. That's interesting. So I can see, I'm not sure if you'll have noticed that, but that's the most hydrophobic, followed by that, followed by that. I'll change to shower setting. You'll be able to get a better view of that. Yeah, you can see how I'm able to stick up the water on there, but on the auto glim, it just won't stick. Yeah, and that's the one that's in the middle. That's pretty good as well, actually. That's definitely the most hydrophobic. So, hold on, I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, jeez. What the hell's wrong with me? It's pollen, that's what it is. Right, let's go on potato cam. Let's bring this down. So if there's any doubt, see the beading on that? Look at that, lovely. So beady, that auto glim wax. That, yeah, it's got a bit of hydrophobia. It's just completely average though. What you're seeing there is a bit of wax and a bit of oil. What you're seeing there is some sort of hydrophobic synthetic additive that has extreme, you know, extremely wet feet. And that's pretty good as well. That's really beady actually. There's your control. It's just, oh, that's been degreased as well. So that's just bare panel. So this is very easy. Very easy. In fact, if you want to see beadage as well, because some of you like that, let's do beads. Get some nice beadage going. This is a bit non-scientific, if you like, because the way the waterfalls can affect it. But you can see here, those beadies, look at those beads. Really juicy, like high contact angles. These, not the best. These decent, no cigar, definitely above average though. Like that's a good 7 or 8 out of 10, and that's like a 9 out of 10 in the beadage. Nearly as good as it gets. So in the beadage department, auto glim, that one's the worst, and then that one. So now we'll go with durability. I want to knock this off as quickly as I can with a chemical. So a chemical, we could go with a citrus. That's gonna have a go. We could go with a citrus, which is supposed to be a mild one, but we always tend to use Surfex. Then you'll all be panicking, thinking Surfex strips it. Let's go with a citrus. Let's live dangerously. As long as it's consistent, it doesn't need to be backwards compatible. Right. Let's just cover this in that, plaster this in citrus. This is Wax Planet. It's higher end ratio. So we'll see it lowering the surface tension of the water and the beads, just turning it into a film. Let's just let that sheet off the panel. We'll go back in, don't worry. Nice sniff. I've got a feeling, I don't want to preempt events here, but this is where the Pinnacle is going to struggle. So I've got a good film of detergent there. It's a lovely cool day. I'm just going to leave that sitting there for a consistent amount of time, maybe half an hour, as long as it doesn't dry, and then I'll come back. Doug. Okay guys, this has only been about 15 minutes. I've just given it like a re-twirl to make sure it doesn't, you know, the film can dry out. So you give it a re-twirl with this I could leave that a lot longer, but I'm hoping we'll see a difference now when we rinse. So it's flat at the moment. We want to get a bit of an angle on the panel, but we'll do that in a second. Let's just rinse this off like there. Okay. So you can see our product is still relatively unscathed there, which is kind of what you'd expect actually, which is interesting. That's still going as well. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to do it again, aren't I, really? The auto glim is just totally unaffected, like beading like crazy. That has taken a little bit of a knockdown, that. Yeah, we can see how this is going. I'm just gonna do another round, but I'm seeing how it's going. That's gonna fail first. And that is starting to lose its beading. That's still going. So we've got some early indications. 3 squirts, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, let's go on. 1, 2, 3. Dug, dug, dug. Twirly, twirly, twirly. Twirly, twirly, twirly. Twirly, twirly, twirly. Come back. Another 15 minutes. Dug. Okay, round 2. Right. Right, let's go. Well, that's still going well. Still something there as well. Oh, but then, yeah, okay. It's similar to the control, maybe just tiny little bit. Yeah, and the auto glim is just unfazed. So you can, just from spraying over the top of this, you can get an idea, can't you? That is still going strong. That's just down a little bit now, got a little bit flatter. And that one is virtually the same as the control. It's still there though. Still there, but not much. So that's, you know, I know how this is going. I'm out of time as well. I've got to go out in a second. So, durability. The auto glim one's always been quite decent under chemical testing. You know, this chemical testing just gives us a finger in the wind. It does give us an idea. I think that's reasonably accurate. The durability of the Pinnacle looks like it's going to be low. Let's go through and add up all our scores, guys. So, okay, so let's go over to the final thing, the scores on the doors. Auto Glim 14, Pinnacle 12, Shoal 10. These other products are here just to give us some comparisons on performance, okay? The Auto Glim is without doubt the best commercial wax here. It's really good wax there. It does everything well, but has that luxury feeling to it. This is a real old school thing that Shoal have cooked up with tons of carnauba in it, like almost like the old surfboard wax. It's so grainy and it's cool, and I love it. Even though it's got the least amount of marks, whatever. The Pinnacle, okay, when I started this video and I got this and I opened it up and I looked at it, I was like a little bit disappointed because I wanted some of that brilliant packaging and, like, you know, something other than a plastic pot for something which is this is like a relic. This is well regarded. It's like iconic, you know, with a few people, perhaps more over in America than in the UK, but it's very well regarded. It's a bit of a sort of, you know, cult wax, if you like. So a little bit disappointed on the packaging and presentation. A little bit disappointed it didn't fill the panel better. Not that disappointed on the durability and the beadage, because I knew it was going to be like that. Amazed by the gloss readings, how it had like a 5-unit advantage, because you can see that. So this really oily Pinnacle wax had an amazing level of gloss, actually. Really good, in fact. That really has blown me away. And it applies very nice. It's really cool. These old show waxes, okay, don't use them if you want value for money. Don't use them if you want durability and protection. You know, modern products are 10 times better. Use them if you still love paste waxes. You loved listening to this video and all the things I've told you. You know, 99% of people have disappeared hours ago. These videos are so un-YouTube friendly, but people with passion watch them. And the Pinnacle wax, I'm also taking a look at it because I want to do my list of the top 10 most amazing waxes of all time. And I wasn't sure if this Pinnacle was worthy of that list. I'm still not 100% sure, but I can't rule it out. I think it might edge its way on there. So you know what you're getting with this Pinnacle Sovereign. You're getting an old school hard paste wax that is extremely oily, extremely glossy, lovely to put on the panel and buff off. It's going to make your car look amazing. When I've washed this car, which is covered in all sorts of mud and stuff, I'll love like going over it with Pinnacle Sovereign and buffing it and then just standing there and appreciating the fact it looks amazing, like and all shiny and all that. I love all that. Yeah, so this product has won me over. They could just make a little bit more effort to increase the presentation. It's like they've almost given up with this product, and it felt like a relic in a box that had been sitting there for like 20 years in that box. Like Pinnacle as a brand, I know nothing about them, but like you could just try and invest a little bit in keeping this going a little bit more rather than giving up on it. Because it is kind of cool. It is kind of cool. So that's my thoughts on it. Yeah, it's sentimental, it's nice, and it may make my top 10 waxes of all time. Jamie, if you're watching, I hope that answers your question. Is it better than Zymol Concurs? No, that has more pedigree and a similar sort of thing, but it's just got that, it's slightly better blended, the Zymol Concurs. It's less, it breaks down and is oily, but it's less greasy than this Pinnacle Sovereign. The Pinnacle Sovereign is a harder lump as well. I think you'll prefer your Zymol Concurs. I don't think you'll struggle to beat that. So yeah, if you want to have a look at it, mate, just tell us and come over and have a play with it. But you'll get an idea with what it's all about there. Yeah, there you go. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you found this one interesting, however long it's dragged on for. Take care. See you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Wax isn't fully dead, and old products like Pinnacle Sovereign can still give us a really nice, warm feeling inside when you use them. Over and out. Doug.